Which are great efforts, but not qualifications to be commander-in-chief of the world's most powerful country.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, because what's really important to have is not...
Hey, first off, she had to... Hold on, play. And he makes a good point. And just to the average person like me, like, that sounds impressive. More than what I've done, right? And I've done a lot of pretty amazing things out there. But that doesn't make you qualified to be president. All right, so it seems like, especially with the help of social media and just all the information that is out there and available to people, I think it's clear to understand, and let me know in the comments if I'm wrong, okay? Let me know that most Americans want more options, want more opportunities instead of Republicans and Democrats. And when it comes to more options, that means you have more competitors. And then what's supposed to happen is they're supposed to try to outbeat each other with policy ideas, breaking down the numbers to see what policies will save America's money, put more money in citizens' pockets, and blah, 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 and all that good stuff, right? That's what it's supposed to cause. If we just had, two dealerships, two car manufacturers, like, it'd kind of be boring. You know what I'm saying? But we have a plethora full, so therefore they're forced to compete to make the best affordable, economic car. But with saying that, and I'm hinting to the Green Party here, you got to put in the work. But in the process of putting in that work, you have to make sure that you are pimp tight ready. That means you have your I's dotted and your T's crossed. And with the help of Mehdi, oh my God, I'm so glad that I found this dude. He does not hold no punches back. If he got some questions for you, he's going to ask that question and he's going to make sure he gets an answer. It ain't going to be no, hey, I'm just going to get some political talking points and weasel my way out of that conversation. No, he will stop the whole entire interview until you answer that question, which is what's needed for the Green Party, because there's a lot of just some weirdness. I guess is the best way to describe it, is like, why are people not taking them serious, and why aren't they a valuable option? And it's a lot of things that is not in their control. We get that, especially just with the money that Republicans and Democrats hold, but it's some things that they can do internally to make themselves more valuable. And Mehdi, he hits it on the nail with this interview. This interview is 59 minutes long. We're not gonna watch the whole thing. Okay, I got a life too, all right? But there is 4 moments here where I think was just amazing, and it gets really spicy, but I believe that's what it's needed to make or break a party. And unfortunately, my opinion after watching this once, the Green Party's just not ready. Like, I want it to be ready, but it's just not ready. So let's go ahead and start with this first point here. Let me see if I drop this down. So the first point is what makes Stein and Ware qualify. So let's go ahead and take a listen.
Yes. A reality TV star, a dodgy New York property developer, had no business being anywhere near the Oval Office. And he proved it in office. He was completely incompetent, reckless, put aside the ideology.
Yes. Oh, yes.
He wasn't just not qualified, he had no history of public service. You, Jill Stein, have only served in one elected role, I believe, on Lexington Town Council, which you won with 539 votes. Butch Ware, I think you mentioned already, you've not run for office before, you've not held any office before. So what makes the two of you qualified to run the world's most powerful country, the world's biggest economy, most advanced military?
Yeah, so let me just jump in. So I served for 5 years on Lexington Town Meeting, but beyond that, I served in leadership positions enacting campaign finance reform and public financing in the state of Massachusetts, where we passed that as a referendum, had to build a strong coalition, had to, do all the public policy things in order to do that. I helped lead the effort to clean up our coal plants and to push for renewable energy in Massachusetts.
Which are great efforts, but not qualifications to be commander-in-chief of the world's most powerful country.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, because what's really important to have is not.
Hey, first off, she had to. Hold on, play, and he makes a good point. And just to the average person like me, like that sounds impressive, more than what I've done, right? And I've done a lot of pretty amazing things out there, but that doesn't make you qualified to be president. And when Mehdi puts that into perspective, it's like, oh, maybe he's right. And her answer, unfortunately, doesn't make it any better,
To have experience being bought off, and that alone, I think, puts our campaign head and shoulders above our competitors here. We are not bought off.
Okay, go.
Might I be tagged in?
Please.
I'm looking forward to the day that they allow Dr. Jill Stein on stage with the other two candidates, and let's just flip the question with respect to qualifications. And Dr. Jill Stein can look towards Team Red and say this one is being led by a domestic terrorist who attempted to overthrow the United States government on January 6th. So who has the qualifications? The other one, Team Blue, is being led by a woman who has participated actively in what the International Criminal Court and International Court of Justice have defined as what? An illegal apartheid state, committing an illegal genocide. Hold on.
I'm not disputing.
No, 1 second. I'm going to come back to qualifications.
Please.
Okay? It's not about policy. It's actually about qualifications.
It's about building.
Exactly.
It's about building
coalitions
that can work together and accomplish things.
An apartheid state, an illegal genocide, and an illegal occupation. So all of these things are to say is that there are moral and ethical qualifications for holding office as well. And as for me, as a 30-year-old assistant professor, I was managing $1.5 million in grants, operating international programs. There's no question that with an actual medical doctor and a PhD, that we have been at the top of our respective fields, that we are going to be the most qualified White House actually to serve in any recent memory.
You don't think you need to be a senator, a governor, served in the military, a government of 3 million people, deal with world leaders? You make it sound very simple. On that basis,
and once again, like, this is a good question and a good conversation that people, I don't think, had. And if it's been had, why the hell do we get someone like Donald Trump? Why the hell do we get someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger to govern California? You know what I'm saying? Like Boebert for Colorado. Like, how do these people get into these positions of power with like no sort of real congressional leadership skill set, history? Like, it's harder to get a job at like Google or Apple than it is to run for president, unfortunately. And that's when we find ourselves having these petty conversations about nothing that matters, and we can't seem to figure out why Americans, I mean, we know why Americans are struggling, but we don't have any leaders at all. Well, there might be a few, but to sit down and come up with real solutions. Because if you've done that for, your town, and you've done that for your city, and then you've done that for your state, you can use that experience for a bigger, broad scope, which is America. So it's like, if you haven't done that before, why do you think you can just like jump in and do that?
Anyone walking down the street in DC run for president? On the description that Butch just gave.
They could not. I mean, it's not a simple matter to run for president.
I'm glad we agree on that. Now we're in agreement.
We agree on that.
Okay.
And we are the only people-powered political party that actually has nationwide ballot access. And we have maintained that actually for decades. So, on so many fronts, we are qualified, and we are uniquely qualified. So absolutely. And further, we have supporters who have had that experience.
Absolutely.
So Jeffrey Sachs, for example, would be our Secretary of State is a very strong supporter for the campaign.
Okay.
I don't know if I buy that. And once again, like, deep down in my soul, trust me, I want a valuable third party, fourth party, fifth party. Other countries have done it. Why can't we do it? So trust me, deep down inside, I want to feel comfortable and confident in voting for a third party. But with these simple questions, it's like, it hurts me. Trust me. I like Ware. Trust me. I like Butch Ware, which once again, the name Butch is just like, I've never called anyone Butch. So, but it's just, if you don't have it, then you just don't have it. So let's go to the next one here. 2030. Boom, right there.
2016, you know the number of votes you got in the three crucial swing states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin exceeded Donald Trump's margin of victory over Hillary Clinton in each of those three states. You and I spoke before that election where I said, hey, you might actually swing some of these states. Do you want to tell people to vote Hillary in swing states? You said, absolutely not. We talked about it on Al Jazeera at the time. I know you point out that a lot of those voters would have stayed at home,
Exactly.
so they wouldn't have swung it.
According to exit polls. We know that.
But they would have stayed at home unless you had told them to vote for Hillary Clinton, which you refused to do.
They would not.
They would not. What are you talking about?
Our voters do not take marching orders from political bosses.
They're not voting for a Democrats.
Maybe that's not a good thing. Like, if you don't have that sort of influence from your voters, then maybe you just need more influence. Because Trump, when he stopped the Republicans in the House to not vote for the immigration or the border bill, they listened. When Trump says, hey, you know, we're going to do X, Y, and Z, his supporters listen. I mean, look what happened on January 6th. It's simple. So I do understand the notion, like, you know, where we just don't like tell our voters what to do. But at some point, like, if you have that kind of influence, you could, if the right circumstances, you know, show themselves, then you should be flexing your muscle to do that. Simple.
To agree to disagree what would have happened in 2016. But in 2024, I wonder, or in 2017-18, when you told me at the time, there's no difference, there's not enough difference between Clinton and Trump, is what you told me at the time.
Well, what I said is that they're not different enough
not different
to
enough.
Save your job, to save your life.
And you said they're both evils. You said they're both evils, just as you said about Harris and Trump. I'm just wondering, was during that disastrous Trump presidency, when kids were being kidnapped from their parents at the border, when people were dying en masse from COVID, when he was praising Nazis, doing domestic terrorism, as Butch says, did you ever at any point say, maybe I got that one wrong?
Oh, no. It's just that we needed to have given the American people a greater choice here, and we need to have been heard. We're not going to... Remember, you know, Trump voters are basically people who are voting against Democrats, against Hillary Clinton, against Joe Biden. You know, that's where that came from. It also came from the Pied Piper strategy, whereby the Democrats lifted up the most extreme Republican, and they do that over and over. And the last thing,
do you ever go, you know what?
No,
judging how bad Trump was, when people were piling up in morgues in New York, when he was telling people to put bleach in your arms, did you ever think, actually, Hillary would have done COVID better? We all knew she would have.
Hillary could have started.
Once again, you don't have to overcomplicate a question. You don't have to overstate an answer. Just be like, you know what? Hey, after the past, 4 years of Trump in office, I realize Trump is horrible. He is the worst candidate than any Democratic personnel the Democrats can give us. Okay? But you can also say, but the Democrats are still trash. They're still a trash party because of X, Y, and Z. Like, it's okay to just be like, you know what? I was wrong. And I realized that Trump is literal, like, an evil person because of X, Y, and Z and A, B, and C. But that doesn't let off the hook of the Democratic Party and what they're doing or what they're not doing or what they refuse to do. So it's okay to, like, widen that gap. I understand what she wants to do is, like, Republicans is bad, Democrats is bad. Like, I understand that notion and that strategy, but they're two sides of the same coin. That's a perfect example. But unfortunately, one side of that coin is like scratched up, has doo-doo on it. And you know, if you touch it, it will give you a virus. Like, that's one side of the coin. You know, and the other half is on his way to being there. Like, it's okay to widen that gap. Just give him that answer and move on. But you seem so combative over something so simple that regular people who understand the political dynamics here, they would agree with you. You'd be like, yeah, the Republican Party is straight trash, and the Democratic Party, hey, is almost unbearable. But no.
World War III.
Yeah, totally.
Do you ever think maybe I got that one wrong?
No, not at all.
You had no regrets during the
because
Trump
I'm
presidency.
absolutely convinced that Democrats are not the solution to right-wing extremism. In many ways, they are the cause of it through austerity, through privatization, through big tax
But in the
giveaways,
moment,
and
2017 to 2021, as the people are dying, as the Nazis are marching, you're not thinking, it was wrong of me to say they're the same.
None of these things exist in isolation. We have several converging crises right now.
So here's the problem. Back in June, this is what we're doing this all again. The same arguments are being made, as you know. It's not just Democrats saying you're helping Donald Trump. Donald Trump is saying, he said at a rally, Jill Stein, I like her very much. You know why? She takes 100% from them. Donald Trump seems to like your candidacy. Steve Bannon has said the same thing. Why are Republicans saying this if you're not helping?
You know, I think they have the same, what shall we say, extremely enlightened and visionary understanding of politics. No, I don't look to them for political analysis. No, and I don't
just
think
analysis. They're working on your behalf. According to the AP, let me put this to you.
Sure.
According to the Associated Press, just last week, Jefferson Thomas, a longtime Republican Party operative from Colorado, submitted petition signatures that his GOP law firm gathered on behalf of your campaign in New Hampshire. Republicans are cynically working to get you on the ballot because they think you're going to help them.
Of course. And this enemy of my enemy is my friend logic is exactly the thing that the Democrats utilize.
I didn't quote Democrats. These are Republicans, Mitch.
But are you listening to my point? So what I'm saying is that the Republicans are thinking exactly the same way. We're not operating according to the same logic. We believe that we will draw many of those Bernie Trump voters. We believe that with an actual working class agenda that meets the needs of the American people, we will bring new voters into the process. We believe that by using data analysis carefully and reaching out to this young generation that is on fire about Gaza, that we will enroll a lot of new voters in the 18 to 29 demographic.
Okay, so this is one thing that I do not agree with. It is almost little to no support when it comes to Trump supporters ever potentially voting Green Party. Like, I have never met a Republican, and I've met a lot of them, especially having this YouTube channel, that say, you know what? The third party might be an option. Like, I love Trump and I hate Democrats, but in a perfect world, I will vote third party. Like, I haven't heard anyone say that. And if I have, it's probably like one or two people. But on the other hand, Democrats would most of them would jump to the opportunity if it was a real valuable Green Party that actually had legs to run on and possibly run and win. Like, it would be more Democrats to vote third party than it would ever be Republican voters to vote Green Party. Like, too many of the Green Party ideologies, policies, social beliefs line up too much with the Democratic Party. And that's why the Democrat establishment is always attacking the Green Party, because they know a lot of their policies align. And that's why a lot of Democrats want a Green Party nomination, because a lot of their policies align. So once again, like, you got to ask yourself, even though the whole sentiment, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, that makes sense. And Republicans are going to use that for their benefit. But sometimes you don't want to be that tool to be used for evil. Sometimes you don't want that. So do you not run? Is it you, or are you worried about the American people? Or are you worried about your chances to run in the future and what you built. Sometimes you have to,
What those right-wing thugs do is their business. It has no purchase over our game plan.
Stop putting in petitions on our behalf.
Absolutely. We don't need y'all's help. We don't want y'all's help.
By the way, you mentioned Bernie. Bernie, of course, is also worried that you are going to cost the Democrats or help Trump win.
If Bernie had run as a Green, he'd probably be president.
So let me ask you this. It's not just...
That is a good question. That is a good thought experiment. If Bernie would have ran Green Party, once again, I'm not gonna pretend like I know exactly all the ins and outs of what would have needed to be accomplished for him to get on every single ballot in every state, because every state is virtually different than another. So what would have needed to be done to get Bernie an actual chance to win? I don't know. But that would have been amazing to find out. That would have been something to live through and experience and have an opportunity to make happen. But he didn't, and I'm pretty sure he has his reasons. So let's go to the next point, which is Trump worse than Harris? I think we're already past that. Oh no, let's go.
Incompetent, amoral, foolish, right? This is a man who could not pass any of my university classes under any circumstances, right?
So
nobody's fine with that.
So are you as fine with that as you are as fine with Harris winning?
6 of one, half dozen of the other.
They're equally bad.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay,
I'm going to tell you why,
yeah.
because this is what I wanted to say in response to the question that you were posing earlier. Everybody is fear-mongering around a Trump presidency. I'm sorry, they were Democrats that were sending cops to campuses to beat up kids on my campus, okay? Coming in riot gear to remove people from encampments. Yeah. These were Democratic cities, Democratic establishments that are keeping the cops back and allowing modern-day Irgun thugs to beat up kids on UCLA campus. And these are Democrats that are building cop cities. Please,
but you don't think it can get worse?
Let me tag you in.
You don't think it can get worse? No, let's just finish.
No,
I want to finish with Butch, because you made the point. You don't think it can get worse? You don't think Project 2025, you don't think putting the military on the streets, the Insurrection Act?
Let me be clear.
You called a domestic terrorist earlier, not me. Is Kamala Harris a domestic terrorist?
She's an international war criminal.
But she's a domestic terrorist. Because you're saying that.
Just say no.
It's an interesting semantic question. Let me put it this way.
Okay, let's not do semantic.
I don't understand why it's so hard for people to just answer the question. Like you're not gonna lose any points or anything. You're not gonna get kicked off the stage if you just give that up. Just give that argument up. Just give it up, because viewers who are watching, which I'm pretty sure Mehdi's probably gonna get like 500,000 views on this video. You're going to gain so much more respect by just saying, yeah, Trump is worse. Trump is worse. You're going to get so many people like, you know what? They know what they're talking about. But when you're trying to go back and forth and try to force Kamala to be as worse as Trump, you sound ridiculous. And yeah, we can go into the nitty gritty details and just I guess force it in there. But the average person is not going to do that. They're going to be like, Trump effed up COVID, the situation. He says a lot of racist rhetoric, damn near racist himself. And he tried to overthrow the election. And he's, in my sense, planning on doing that if he loses. Kamala Harris is not even close. Not even close. Kamala Harris is not perfect. I get that. She has a lot of watered down, lukewarm policies that only benefit, her real constituents, the ones that donate millions of dollars to her. Yeah, we get that. We understand that. And that's unacceptable. But you can't compare an apple to an orange. If you say an apple and an orange are the same thing, I'm sorry, this conversation is done, because you're crazy to think Kamala Harris is anything close to Trump. That's not going to work here.
May I answer the question? So what I said in a social media post some time back was that whether you vote Team Red or Team Blue, militarized fascism wins. And the reason is that both are operated by the 1%. They share 95% of the same patronage networks. They are owned by AIPAC and the War Machine. There is a faction fight amongst the 1% with Christian right-wing evangelicals and a diversity agenda on the other side, and that is driving this combat.
But the faction fight is pretty existential because it affects the future of our country.
The faction fight is existential for people like you who cannot imagine a green future and can only imagine endless war between teams red and blue. As for us, we're not interested in the purple fascists. For us, they're very similar.
I guess the problem is it's great rhetoric, but in practice,
it's not.
It is rhetoric. Let me give you specifics, and you come back in. When you say they're both greater evils, they're both equally bad. This is what bothers me. On Gaza, maybe you're right. But on a whole host of other important issues, Trump is undeniably, demonstrably much worse than Harris. Let me just give you some examples. If Trump is elected, over 10 million undocumented immigrants are going to be targeted in a bloody, you say fearmonger, his words, this weekend, in a bloody military operation. If Trump is elected, one study says there'll be 4 billion tons of additional US emissions by 2030, which you might think would be a big deal for the Green Party. If he's elected, all the gains that workers have made during the Biden-Harris administration, undeniable organizing gains, trade union gains, will be gone. If Trump is elected, we have another pandemic. People will die in their hundreds of thousands.
They're not dying now? The COVID is making a major comeback as we speak.
Oh, man, that's not the point, though. Man, stick to the point and answer the question. This would have been the shortest segment of this entire interview. We would have been like, yeah, you're right. You're right. After seeing Trump in the White House and seeing his administration and policies and, being implemented and seeing how that caused a bigger division here in America, I changed my mind. With more information and data and experience, I changed my mind. Yep, Trump is worse than Harris. There you go. Point blank simple. Mehdi can't argue an agreeing answer. Move on to the next one. Because this is not a good argument. This is not making Trump supporters say, hey, the Green Party know what they talking about. Because you're saying Trump is the worst person ever. So, you're going to kind of lose that. And Democrats are not saying, yeah, this is what I want to hear. They just want to hear what the average person is already assuming. Trump is worse. And Harris and Joe Biden, they're your average crooked politician. And somehow Trump is beneath that, which is weird, but that would have been easy. What's the next one? 960 or 3950. Yep.
Well, we began the...
So this is Putin a war criminal? Oh my God. Can we just nip this in the butt, man? Like I said, this video is probably going to get 500,000 views. This is 500,000 people who can just leave this subject alone when it comes to Jill Stein and this whole Putin thing. Answer the question. I give you permission to just lie to me. Just lie to me. Just be like, Putin is a war criminal, damn it. There's no so many other words to say. No, you sound crazy. You sound like you don't know what you're talking. You sound like you're not ready to be president. Just say just say it, man.
Interview with me saying you have the strongest position on Gaza by a mile.
Yes.
But it's easy to condemn what America is doing. The critics are saying it's what Russia or Syria does that you haven't condemned, and they point out, as you know, that you went to Russia in December 2015. You sat at a table briefly with Vladimir Putin at the height of the Syria war.
I did what JFK said.
In the wake of his illegal annexation of Crimea, you didn't harshly criticize Putin, they say. In fact, you put out a video of you in Moscow in Red Square, harshly criticizing not Putin, but American foreign policy in Russia. You didn't criticize Russia in that video.
Actually, I
You criticized America. Not in that video, 2.5-minute video you put out from Red Square. You said America, I've got it here, I've got the transcript. You said you called out US exceptionalism. You said we need to respect and replace a US policy of domination, all of which I agree with, by the way. But in Moscow, shouldn't you say something about the Russian imperialists?
Well, and in fact, I did. And had the speech not been taken down, it lived on the internet, on the RT channel. My remarks. See, that
called out the Russian policy.
Let her finish.
Yes, I actually did call that out. And
go ahead.
yes, it is a Clinton hit job. And that video was, was a posting on social media. The actual purpose of that visit was to address a conference of media from around the world.
Well, it was a Russia Today conference, which is a propaganda channel for Putin. I mean, it was some neutral
yes,
conference.
in the same way that the BBC is a propaganda channel for
Well, the
the UK.
MSNBC is a propaganda
Yes.
It's not the same way.
We all
MSNBC is a propaganda
NPR,
channel for Team Blue.
We have our. Yes, but aren't the American people entitled to decide, what propaganda they're going to listen to?
I'm not saying you shouldn't be banned from going. I'm just wondering
when
why you went.
When our corporate media will not cover us, yes, then we do have to embrace whatever media we can get.
And you didn't feel you should criticize Putin while he was there?
Actually, I did.
To his face?
She did criticize
Yes.
him.
What did you say to him?
So he was not at that conference, but he heard it.
He was sitting 3 feet away.
That was not the conference.
I know,
that was a dinner afterwards.
So why not say something?
There were no translators. There was no
Vladimir
introduction.
Putin speaks English.
He was there for 5 minutes before he gave a speech in Russian. Yeah.
If Joe Biden was sitting at a table with you 5 minutes, you wouldn't call him out on Gaza? If Benjamin Netanyahu was sitting at a table with you, you wouldn't call him out?
But
so why not Putin?
if he is unavailable, if he's across the table and there's just screaming noise, you're going to go shout over the table?
You're telling me if you sat at a table with Joe Biden and Benjamin Netanyahu for 5 minutes, you wouldn't say anything to them?
Well, this is why I made the point to focus my speech
Oh
on
my God, just give it up. Jesus Christ, man. Like, honestly, and I'm pretty sure there's a conversation that can be had in regards to what happened in her, 2015, damn near 10 years ago. Like, me, honestly, I don't care. I don't care what she did in Russia, blah, blah, blah. If it's just one of those, she didn't call him out, all right, cool, whatever. Let me know when she's receiving money from Putin or someone in that area, then let's have a conversation. But if she just failed to say something while she was sitting at a table with family, it's like, okay, don't care. She just didn't have the balls at that point. I don't care, right? When they get into the conversation here of, is Putin a war criminal? This whole front part right here would have been unnecessary. We wouldn't even have to hear this nonsense. But just dragging this on is like, that's when we start losing people. Like, what are you talking about? What? It's the what? Okay, so are you working for her? Are you receiving money? Like, what? Like, that's when it starts creating those doubts and confusion. Just nip it in the butt already.
Remarks and to criticize Russia for basically following in the U.S.
So here's what bothers a lot.
Syria.
Let me finish this conversation.
If I can understand,
I need to talk about Russia, and I'll bring you in because you weren't there with respect. Jill was.
That's fair.
On the day you posted that video, on the 17th of December 2015, Russian warplanes bombed a residential area in Aleppo, killed 8 people, including 4 kids. 10 days after you went to that dinner in Russia, on 20th of December, Russian warplanes bombed a marketplace in Idlib, killed over 40 Syrian people in the area. Did you ever condemn any of that?
Yes,
Did you feel bad about being in Russia, talking about peace while they're dropping bombs?
Well, that was the point of that was one of the points
work, did it?
in my actual remarks. Well, whose has worked? Yes, but I was also on that in that same trip. I was in Paris talking with Jeremy Corbyn. I was talking with the Chinese deputy negotiator on climate. So am I going to change the world by having a 1-minute conversation with world leaders? No, and more often than not, you can't even get their attention. But what I was able to do was to put on record 3 issues, 3 top issues. One was a global Green New Deal. A second was a peace offensive in the Middle East and actually withholding weapons from this madness and this perpetual war in the Middle East.
We looked at your social media and you haven't done that many posts specifically calling out Russian attacks on civilian areas. You haven't called Vladimir Putin a war criminal, but you have called Benjamin Netanyahu a war criminal.
No, actually we did. Yeah. In my very first remarks about the Ukraine war, we condemned...
Vladimir Putin's a war criminal in your view.
Yes, we did
and Bashar al-Assad's a war criminal.
Yes, in so many words. Yes, we have said as much. So
you called Netanyahu one, which I think he is.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
Is Putin a war criminal?
So what we said about Putin was that his invasion of Ukraine is criminal. It's a criminal and murderous war.
And he's a war criminal who should be on trial.
Well, by implication.
You're struggling here to say this. This is why people have their doubts with Russia.
Well,
why is Benjamin Netanyahu a war criminal but not Vladimir Putin?
Well, as John F. Kennedy said,
I don't care what John F. Kennedy done said. He's asking you a question. Answer the question. Lie to me, damn it. If you gotta lie to me, just do it, Jill Stein. I just don't want to hear excuses. I don't want to hear hair splitting type of answers. Just call the dude a war criminal and move on with life. All right? You will do yourself so much better in regards to moving the Green Party forward if you just stop making excuses. Stop trying to split hairs and be like, okay, the Israeli government is war criminals, but Putin, he's like kind of, sort of, like in the neighborhood around the corner. You know, he's like the auntie of a war criminal, like the auntie cousin of a lost cousin's married. No, we don't care. Just call the dude a war criminal and move on with your life. That's simple.
Must not be afraid to, we must not negotiate out of fear, and we must not fear to negotiate. So if you want to be an effective world leader, you don't start by name calling and hurling epithets.
So how will President Stein negotiate with Israel then if you've called Netanyahu a war criminal?
Well, because he very clearly is a war criminal.
So Putin clearly isn't a war criminal.
Well, we don't have a decision, put it this way, by the International Criminal Court.
Yes, we do.
Yes, actually,
actually you're wrong. There's an arrest warrant for Putin. There isn't yet an arrest warrant for Netanyahu. So why is Putin not a war criminal, but Netanyahu is?
Yeah.
I think they both are.
Let me say this. We are sponsoring that war. We are sponsoring Netanyahu.
That's our war.
Oh my God, bro. Like that's what I'm talking about. And unfortunately, we just gonna end it right there because why? People want more options. People want a valuable, substantive third party. And with you not being able to just quickly answer that question, in my opinion, is not the most important question. Because trust me, most Americans, I don't want to say don't care about the Russia-Ukraine. You know, we care. But it's hard to really care about that when you can't pay your own bills. When you're struggling to find good quality jobs. You know what I'm saying? Like, you lose people when you're asked a simple question. People know who Putin is, at least a general understanding. He's a bad guy. He's invading Ukraine. He shouldn't be doing that. Pretty simple. It's not complicated. You shouldn't do that. Just call the dude a war criminal, just like Benjamin Netanyahu is. I already know I mispronounced the name. You ain't got to correct me, but it's easy to do that. And just move on. Move on to the more important topics. But they spent like maybe 20 minutes out of this whole entire interview just over nonsensical questions. That doesn't help you to argue. People are not going to be drawn to your party because of these arguments. Republican, Democratic voters are not going to be like, you know what, that Green Party, they didn't say Putin isn't a war criminal, so they're going to get my vote this year. All right, they're going to get my vote. Like, no one is having that conversation. And I can bet my last dollar that nobody is thinking that. So why are we dying on that hill? Why are we making that such a pivotal conversation in the Green Party? Let it go. Or maybe she's not fit to be the leader of the Green Party if people are going to continuously bring that same question up that happened in 2015 and she just can't give a damn solid answer. He's a war criminal. Move on to the next question. And that's why we ain't got no third party. Stupid stuff like that. Let it go. But once again, if you think I'm wrong in anything that I said in this video, find me in my Discord. Let's debate. Let's kind of, have that conversation in the Discord, or let me know what you think and how you feel in the comments down below. And like always, let's have that conversation.